Welcome to Blackhawks Insider, the official podcast of the Chicago Blackhawks, presented by ChevyDriveChicago.com. I'm Carter Baum, and coming up on this week's episode, we look back on the opening three-game road trip out west, what's happening around the league. Chris Foster sits down for a conversation with Jack Johnson and much more coming up right now on Blackhawks Insider, presented by ChevyDriveChicago.com. Drive what Kane and Taves drive. Welcome into Blackhawks Insider. Carter Baum, Colby Cohen, Chris Vosters, and Kaylee Chelios with you all once again. Everyone, it's great to be back. And I forgot to mention this last week, but this is a great show because all four of our names start with the letter C. It's a C show. Actually, we want to be an A show. But thanks to everyone for coming back in today. How's everyone doing this week? Chris,
great observation, Carter. I think something with all of the C's. We got to work that into the title of the podcast. I think, but you're
Chevy.
right.
Chevy.
Great point. We're definitely going for an A show for sure.
Kaylee, how's it going?
It's good, Carter. I never put together that we're all C's, so I'm proud to be a C with all of you. It used to be C squared and I from Edzo and on the studio, so it's nice to be a part of something a lot bigger.
You're not the only C squared here, though. I guess you got Colby.
Yeah, that's right. The C squared wasn't big enough, so we gotta add it all around.
Quadruple squared. Well, quadruple.
We're here. Little over a week into the season. Blackhawks' first three games under the belt, all on the road: Colorado, Vegas, wrapping it up in San Jose. Chris, we'll start with you because you were the man on the scene in Colorado, the home opener. You didn't have to work the game, national broadcast, but there, front row seated as an observer. I know you sit down with Jack Johnson a little later in the show. We can talk about that, but opening the season, defending Cup champions, you deal with the whole pregame ceremony. What was it like out there in Denver on opening night?
Well, I think for starters, even though I wasn't broadcasting the game, if there was a game to sit back and watch, it was this one, because it was a Stanley Cup championship celebration ceremony. The Avs raised their championship banner to the rafters, and I think from a Blackhawks perspective too, I mean, you saw the ultimate goal of where this team currently wants to be in the not too distant future, hopefully. So I was able to definitely take it all in a way that I wouldn't be able to if I was locked in getting ready to call the game. And it was cool just seeing Colorado Avalanche culture. I mean, the song All the Small Things by Blink-182 has become somewhat of an anthem for Avs fans. They sing it a cappella for long stretches during games. And I actually saw Mark Hoppus below the arena before the game. He was taking pictures with Wayne Gretzky and the TNT crew. And so then to see him on the ice do somewhat of an impromptu rendition of that song was really, really cool, and definitely brought me back to my middle school days. I was a big Blink-182 fan, even though I accidentally called him Mike Hoppus on Twitter, but it's all good. I promise that I was a fan. And yeah, I know that it was cool because it happened like the same week that the announcement came out that Blink's coming to the United Center in May, so it definitely made me want to get tickets to that. And again, from an on-ice perspective too, it was really cool seeing Jack Johnson partake in the championship celebration as well, wearing his Blackhawks jersey. Both the Avs and Jack's teammates with the Blackhawks were great about letting him do that. There was a really cool video montage that the Avs played for him in the first intermission as well that he said made him really emotional. And all told, he's a great interview. I'm really excited for fans to watch the full interview that we have with him that we'll, of course, show later on in this podcast. Great chance to get to know Jack both on and off the ice, and we talk about what it was like being on the ice for the Stanley Cup championship raising ceremony, what he did with the cup, some of his interests off the ice. He's a big ice cream and coffee guy, so it's a great interview, and I think fans will really enjoy it.
I want to get to the similarities between where the Avs came from over the last few years and where the Blackhawks are really embarking right now. But real quick, Colby, I know as a former player, some of those pregame ceremonies, it's not necessarily common practice for an opposing player to jump on the ice and join his former team. I mean, how unique is that? Obviously, if there's any time to do it, it's when a Stanley Cup banner is going to the rafters. But how cool was that moment? Just watching.
Yeah,
it
that was such a great moment to see. Being fortunate to having got to take part in a ceremony like that during my playing career, and just like thinking about how weird it probably would have been to have another jersey in there. But I think what it illustrates amongst the NHL is that this is really one group of people that all sort of wear different colors, but when they can come together over a common cause, players really do. And I think players appreciate just how hard it is to win that trophy. And I think it was really exciting, not only for Jack, but I think the Avs players were equally excited for Jack to be there. He's played in the league for 17 years now. You start to root for guys like that who get late into their career and are chasing after their first Stanley Cup. So, visually it was like weird to see that white Blackhawks jersey in the sea of, burgundy and blue there, but I thought it was the right move. I thought it was classy, and I just thought it really demonstrated the brotherhood that is, the players.
It's funny because he was sitting on the bench. They kept cutting to the camera angle of him sitting alone on the Blackhawks bench, and then it's kind of like all of a sudden he jumped over the boards and went and joined his former teammates, which was really cool.
I'm sure there'll be some funny memes of him sitting on the bench by himself. The internet's always undefeated, so I'm sure there'll be some funny ones.
Kaylee, real quick before we move on to some of the other games in the trip, our good friend Charlie Romeliotis at NBC Sports Chicago put together a nice little piece the other day, really outlining how the Blackhawks might be following in the Avs' footprint. I know it not necessarily apples to apples, but you remember several years back the Avalanche had a franchise worst season, I believe only like 48 points over the course of an entire year. And now here they are back at the top of the mountain just a couple years later. I mean, again, it's not apples to apples, but a similar hope for the Blackhawks to kind of follow along that same path maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you've made it when Blink-182 shows up at your ceremony. That's a dream. So very cool. And like you said, I think they've laid out a great blueprint, and before them covering the Tampa Bay Lightning, sort of a similar situation as well. And as excited as fans are for this team to hit this rebuild full swing, the nature of it is it's not necessarily always going to be a 3 to 5 year situation. And when you look at the Avs or Tampa Bay before them, who have put together two incredible teams, and two teams that now, like Tampa Bay, Colorado, could very well go on to win another cup, similar to how Chicago did in their heyday too, winning 3 cups like that. But it took them really like 8 years from when Keith and Seabrook and those guys were drafted and really started to come together, and then Kane and Tays before they went in and won their 3 cups. So I do think the Avs blueprint is one to follow, much like Tampa Bay's. Great coaches. The Hawks obviously are a ways away from winning a Stanley Cup, but a lot of positives to look for, and just trusting the process. So I think it's going to be interesting. It remains to be seen if these second, third round picks from Kyle Davidson are going to pan out, but that's really the hope here, and that's kind of what happened with Colorado. And they managed to keep their core assets and then build around them with complementary players season after season. So did Tampa Bay, and that's really the key to it, is finding that balance, but just finding complementary good role players and high character players to come in and surround the team. So I'm excited. I think Colorado is a great example, like you said, and I really like Charlie's article. I think it was really well said and well written, a lot to look forward to if you're a Blackhawks fan.
Yeah, you can read more about that one at NBCSportsChicago.com. And the Blackhawks go from facing one team that went from the bottom to the top to a team that's just always been good since they came into the league a few years ago, the Vegas Golden Knights, in the second game, opening up the season with a back-to-back. A 1-0 game. We don't have to dive into it too much, but I did want to call out Alex Stalock for an incredible performance there and really keeping the Blackhawks in it in his team debut. He put himself up there at the top of the league early here in the season with at least some of the goaltending statistics, but a really nice performance from him. And then the Blackhawks get an off day on Friday. They get rested, or rather, a couple days in between games. They come back on Saturday night. They face the San Jose Sharks, a team that's also a little bit struggling out of the gate. And Chris, I mean, I'll toss it back to you on this one. An incredible pregame ceremony. The Blackhawks get their first win. Luke Richardson's first win as an official full-time head coach behind the bench. I mean, what was that night like in San Jose?
Well, it was really touching. Both teams warmed up wearing number 24 jerseys in honor of Doug Wilson, which from a broadcast standpoint made it a little bit difficult to ID players during warm-ups, but that's okay. It was a great gesture.
How are you getting your lines?
I mean, just everyone. It's funny, like John Weideman and I, the Blackhawks radio announcer, of course, were joking about that because they're one booth over from us in San Jose. And so John at one point kind of reached his head around the partition and was like, "Hey, did you get the lines? Like, I've got the top line 24." And it was actually, we had a funny moment about that. But had a great statistician named Joel who was able to get the lines for us. So we were all good there. But it was really cool, you know, the shout out that Doug Wilson gave to the Blackhawks in his pregame comments. He mentioned Troy Murray specifically, of course, one of my broadcast partners and John's as well on the radio side, about being his inspiration. Of course, both Troy and Doug dealing with medical-related issues right now. So it was a great ceremony. I think just the theme of the road trip for the Blackhawks was all of the pomp and circumstances before these games. You go from a Stanley Cup championship ceremony to the Vegas Golden Knights home opener, and now you have another extended pregame ceremony. And so I think that the way the team was able to shake off a 2-0 deficit in the first period, score 5 unanswered goals, and win that game really shows how hard they're playing and their level of compete right now under head coach Luke Richardson. And it was great to see him get his first win, and a really great gesture by Patrick Kane to give Luke the game puck afterwards.
Really cool moment, and I think everyone knows Doug Wilson from the last almost 25 years working in the Sharks organization. Of course, he was their first team captain when they were an expansion team way back in the day. But Kaylee, before that, he spent more than a decade in a Blackhawks sweater. He still leads all defensemen all time in points by a Blackhawk blue liner. I mean, an incredible hockey player back in the day. He's a Hall of Famer because of it. And now he's gone on and had an incredible career as a general manager in San Jose, one of the most successful franchises over the last 12, 13, 14 years with him at the helm. Of course, stepping away for medical reasons, but an incredible impact on the game from Doug Wilson overall.
Yeah, like you said, for a long time, it was dangerous going into that West Coast swing where you face LA, Anaheim, and San Jose and the Sharks. I mean, they were a contending team for so long. It would have been amazing to see him win a Stanley Cup there, but so deserving of the Hall of Fame. An incredible teammate, player, like you mentioned, his accolades with the Blackhawks. It was pretty cool to see his family on the ice too, and all of his grandkids, and just, I mean, what he's been able to accomplish. And unfortunate, you know, we don't know exactly what's going on, that he's having to deal with some medical issues, but so beloved by fans. And I asked Denny Savard about him because he was a lot closer to him than my dad was at the time, and they're still best friends. They go golfing at Butterfield Country Club, and they're pretty close, and I respected what he said. Just as a former athlete on a much smaller scale, I always loved when his slogan, I guess, was, you know, we all go or we don't go. And he was kind of in charge of getting the team together, building that camaraderie, taking over the Christmas parties, the holiday parties, and really leading the charge there. So Denny said he took him under his wing, and he was, you know, one of the best players of all time, you know, when they were playing there, among Paul Coffey and just so many other great defensemen. So it's really cool. It was great to see him be honored. I thought he did a great job with his speech. Shocked he didn't get emotional, because it was kind of emotional watching it with his family on the ice like that. So very cool experience on this road trip between the ring ceremony for Jack Johnson and then Doug Wilson to cap it all off.
Before we get to, of course, the Blackhawks home opener on Friday, Colby, real quick, your former team out there in Philly, where you spent some time after your playing career, they're off to a hot start under John Tortorella, right? The city of Philly is doing incredible. The Eagles are 6-0, beating my Cowboys on Sunday nights. Rough one there. But Colby, what's happening around the league in your eyes? What are some things that fans should know overall outside of Chicago?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think Torts and the Philadelphia Flyers is probably a good place to start. You look at they're off to a 2-0 start. I would urge anybody and everybody not to overreact to the first 2 or 3 games of the season, but that team is certainly playing a lot harder under John Tortorella. And just talking to some of the players that are there, they love him. I mean, I think players are so refreshed by having a guy like John Tortorella who treats every player identically the same. I don't think that's a normal circumstance. I think certain players are treated differently by different coaches. I think that's just how life goes. Everybody is a little different. No two are the same. So it's been a good start there in Philadelphia. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of buzz around South Philadelphia right now. All their stadiums are in basically one parking lot for anybody who has ever seen a sporting event in Philadelphia, and it certainly gets pretty rowdy. I mean, the Flyers or the Philadelphia fans are known for throwing snowballs at Santa, so you certainly not a lot of love lost when you get to Philadelphia. Another one that's been kind of surprising to a lot of people, not to me, just to put that out there, and I have receipts to prove it, is Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights. They're off to a good start. Eichel's got a couple of points, couple of goals, couple of assists. New head coach Bruce Cassidy really has those guys playing, good structured hockey. And, a little bit of a funny side note with the Vegas Golden Knights, obviously the 1-0 victory over the Blackhawks last week, but a little competition within the competition. You've got Kevin Dean, who is in charge of the penalty kill for the Chicago Blackhawks, going up against his old bench boss, Bruce Cassidy. They spent the last 10 years in Boston and Providence together. Now, Bruce Cassidy's baby is the power play. Kevin Dean is the penalty kill. So the fact that the Blackhawks were able to keep Vegas' power play held to nothing in that game gave our guy Kevin Dean a little bit of bragging rights. So another one I think a lot of people weren't expecting, with the goaltending situation in Vegas being a little bit unsure. But Logan Thompson so far up to the test. And the last one, a former teammate of mine, teasing a little bit of fun on social media. I'm not sure if anybody saw Brad Marchand had a bit of a cryptic post on social media. Looks like he's doing a little bit of voiceover work for Disney. I'm not really sure. He's got that nickname Noseface Killer. And or Killa, I guess would be the more appropriate way to say it. But, Marshy's one of those guys that you hate him when he's not on your team, but when he's one of your guys and he's putting on that jersey, he's pretty beloved within his locker room.
What do we think he was doing? I mean, if he tagged Disney in the post, so little illusion there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's the next voice of Buzz Lightyear. I mean, they already replaced Tim Allen, so why not keep going, right?
Maybe there's developing a character around, the big schnoz that he has. I don't know. I mean, he's the one who says it, so it's fair game because he openly talks about it.
That's fair.
He would make a great Disney villain for sure. I feel like, and like you said, Colby, I don't know a single person that doesn't like him, despite when he's on the ice. Like, you hate him, but you love him at the same time. I loved covering him. I was there for Lickgate when he licked Brian Callahan,
yeah.
And we were in the locker room right after, and what a situation, but what a cool guy, great person, and like I said, I think he would make a tremendous Disney villain, so that's pretty cool to venture outside the hockey world. Like, I'm very excited. I was trying to Google it for a while to figure out what on earth he was doing, and I couldn't find anything.
I think it's a good call, though, Kaylee. I think he would make a great, like, if they made the cartoon version of Marchand or Marchand, whatever he's being called this season, because he totally does that just to mess with the broadcasters. He's openly admitted that, by the way. But he would be a good villain. I mean, you could cartoon him up, and you've got, the guy who's trying to, overthrow Pinky and the Brain's master plan in a Disney show.
I think you just dated yourself so hard with Pinky and the Brain.
I don't know I don't know any of the new Disney shows yet. I don't have any kids yet. So
that would not fly on Disney today, Pinky and the Brain. Creepy.
Oh, really? Was it bad?
It's creepy.
Is
Go
it?
back and take a little peek at
Yeah,
Pinky in the Brain.
I haven't
You
seen
might-
Pinky
you
in the
might-
Brain in like 25 years, so maybe I'll have to check it out. We always laugh and say my two dogs are like Pinky in the Brain, so maybe we need a new name for them.
Colby, you go back and watch. We'll have a recap segment next week and see what you learned from the 2022 version of Pinky.
You're not going to like what you see as
Oh
an adult.
no! Did I just walk myself off of a cliff there, Kaylee? Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
I definitely wouldn't show my kids that show at this point, but it is funny. It was a good show when we were kids. I'll leave it there.
Real quickly, wrapping things up, Blackhawks at home, opening up a home-heavy stretch here to close out October with the Detroit Red Wings on Friday night. A red carpet event before the game, all the players arriving in style. A little birdie has told me that the three of you are going to be involved in various roles during that. What's exciting you about the home opener, just real quickly before we move on to our Sellies and Chirps?
Definitely
Start with
the pomp and circumstance of it feeling like an awards show or an Oscar type night. I'm really excited for the build-up that's going on all week, and I know that Kaylee and I have already picked out our outfits for the night, and looking pretty snazzy is all I'm going to say. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Wow, are you going to be wearing the Harry Styles glittery tuxedo, Chris?
No, I
Don't
was
be jealous.
I was gonna go with the striped one that we talked about last week, where he looks like a carnival worker or something like that. I think that's more my style.
Suits you. Okay, yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking.
Kaylee, any insight into any tease of what your style is going to look like on the red carpet?
I'm wearing a very sparkly number, so you will not be able to miss me. I'll say that. Outfit change as
Inspiration
well.
from
Yeah, Harry definitely inspired my outfit. You'll see. So, can't wait. I'll be debuting the red with sparkles, and then I can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome. I haven't done a red carpet in the NHL in a long time, so I can't wait. It's going to be a great night and a really good matchup.
Are you going to keep it on for the studio show? The sparkles?
My sparkly number? I don't think so. It would be a little distracting. So I think I'm going to do a quick outfit change into a power suit. That's my I love power suits. So that's going to be my home opening look when we get into studio.
All right, we'll move real quickly through our segment known as Sellies and Chirps. We've changed it up just a little bit this week, week 2 of the season. We're already throwing some curveballs at you, but instead of me tossing out 3 topics and having you guys go around the horn, we made you do a little homework this week. So each of you has selected one quick topic we can go through. In the interest of time, we'll try to move pretty quickly, but Colby, we'll start with you. What do you want to toss out there as a Selly or a Chirp for this week?
So as I'm watching the MLB playoffs and I'm seeing Anthony Rizzo have all this success, I mean, he had a big couple of big hits in Game 4 to get the Yanks to a Game 5. My question to you guys would be, are we celebrating his success? Are we chirping his success here in Chicago? I feel like every market handles this a little bit differently. I'm from the jaded Philadelphia market where, like I said, they will throw anything at anyone. They will boo anybody. It's very rare in Philly that people actually are happy for anybody else ever. So I'm wondering, Anthony Rizzo playoff success, Chris, are we celebrating or are we chirping?
I think we're celebrating at this point. I think that it maybe comes with a little bit of sadness because, to me, Anthony Rizzo was the face and the heart and the soul of those Chicago Cubs teams that ultimately won the 2016 World Series. So it is odd to see him in Yankee pinstripes or a Yankee uniform, but he was such a beloved figure in Chicago that I think it's appropriate to celebrate the success that he is having with another team, and the fact that it's not like the Cardinals or something like that, I think also makes it a little bit more palatable. So a Selly for me.
And I think Chicago fans in general, to me, just seem more forgiving. And Kaylee, maybe you could shed some insight onto the fact that, look at your dad. Your dad was a Hall of Famer. He is a Hall of Famer, and he went from he went between 2 rival teams. How were the Blackhawks fans, when he was in Detroit? And I mean, obviously they love him and they celebrate him now, but, you have some maybe firsthand, knowledge of this situation.
Yeah, I think it's different. Like my dad going to Detroit, like he still got booed heavy when he came back to the UC, and like he used to feel so bad for us, but like we didn't care. Like it's not like we took it personally, but it was weird. It was like, why are they all booing him? Because we were young, obviously, and didn't really understand the circumstance of the rivalry. But Anthony Rizzo is so beloved here, and I think it maybe makes it a little less salty that the whole team was really dismantled when he left. It wasn't like it was just him. It was saying goodbye to that, like you said, World Series winning team, and all those players I felt like were so loved. So, I mean, you go to Jalasko still, and you used to see like Anthony Rizzo's like foundation when you check out and you could donate. Like he was everywhere. My dad is friends with him. Just he comes back to Chicago all the time and he has so many good things to say about him. So I think it's hard not to love him. I can't imagine Chicago fans are salty in any way. He's a cancer survivor. He's done so much for the city. Like I think everybody just wants to see him succeed. Maybe I'm a little biased, I guess, in that sense, but yeah, I think it's a little different than when my dad got traded. He was booed heavy. I don't think anybody's going to boo Rizzo when he comes back.
I do appreciate that in 1 week we went from Colby not being the baseball fan to tossing out a baseball related question. Great job, Chris.
The playoffs really got me going, and the Phillies being good. I mean, it's been a long time since the Phillies were good. So
Colby
Chris,
just wants
what
to
do you have
copy
on
me.
deck?
What can I say?
I wake up and think, how can I be more like Chris Foster, the voice of the Chicago Blackhawks?
All right, here's my contribution to this segment. It's the new, or maybe not even new anymore, but it is the social media trend that I'm seeing a lot right now. It's the tortilla challenge, and I haven't done it yet myself. The gist of it is basically two people drink a sip of water, hold it in their mouths while they're holding a tortilla, and you try and smack the other person while not swallowing or spitting out the mouthful of water or whatever beverage that you have. And the real reason I wanted to bring this up is because Kaylee Chelios did an absolutely hilarious rendition of this with your sister, Kaylee. I watched it like on a loop. It was so funny. I was cracking up. Your mom makes a cameo appearance, I think, in the tortilla challenge that you did. And so for me, I would say that, well, I guess I'll get your thoughts on this first, but what made you want to do that? And I guess, is there anything that I left out as far as the parameters of the tortilla challenge?
No, I watched it and I laughed so much, and I'd been dying to do it with my sister for so long, and she finally came into town. And then we wanted to do it with my dad, but he was too difficult to track down. Like, he was foil boarding actually, like in the background, like where we were in the apartment. You could see him.
Wait,
like,
what's foil boarding?
It's like surfing above water, if you can picture that. There's a big foil underneath the board, and it was like super cold that day. My mom was already in a bad mood because she wanted to get stuff done, and he was basically swimming in the afternoon. And yeah, I mean, it's really funny. I'll say it doesn't hurt as bad as I thought it would, although my sister slapped me so hard the tortilla ripped in half. I would love to see you and Colby do it, because sometimes it's a little weird.
That's where he's going.
I know. I was going to say, I did it. I think with a guy and a girl, it's a little awkward. How hard are you going to slap the girl with the tortilla? So Chris and Colby, or Carter, if you want to jump in there, I 10 out of 10 recommend trying it. It's pretty funny and did not disappoint. My mom was not entertained. She thought we were like 4 years old buying tortillas.
I enjoy tortillas too much.
Challenge.
I asked my mom to buy the tortillas, and she's like, I just bought, organic tortillas for you guys to do that. But it was good. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys doing it on a road trip or at some point.
Okay, well, I'm gonna keep my response short and sweet. This is a chirp, because literally that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna chirp people while they're doing this. So I'm going chirp.
That's fair. Kaylee, what do you got for us this week?
I was going to ask about the Bears Stadium being moved to Arlington Heights from Soldier Field. My husband had played there before and played it like as a Packer in there, but he will say like it is the worst stadium as far as traffic. The field is terrible. So he seemed really excited about Arlington Heights for Bears fans. Chris, I know you're not a Bears fan. I love Soldier Field. Or I'm sorry.
Oh, well, now you need to elaborate, Kaylee. Tell
Whoops.
everybody who he is a fan
I mean,
of.
how could you be a Bears fan off the hop when you're from Wisconsin? But I have heard that they kind of want to make it in Arlington Heights like Title Town, maybe even more like Gillette, Patriot Place. So I'm wondering, is
Which
it a
is
Selly
incredible.
a Selly or a Chirp as far as the location, so close to the airport, potentially building a town around it, and better facilities in that sense? Like, what do you guys think of it leaving? I think it's an iconic stadium, but I think a lot of people would say differently.
I mean, it's hard to talk about this concisely, but I would say for me that it's a Selly. I understand that Soldier Field is an iconic stadium in a gorgeous location. I mean, one of the most unique backdrops in the NFL, with downtown Chicago on one side and Lake Michigan on the other. But I think from a business standpoint, there is so much upside to moving the Bears out to Arlington Heights, where they can have you can build a Bears town, a weekend destination where people can go and hang out, eat, drink, party, have a great time, watch the Bears game. I think it would. There's a lot of potential to make that just like a slam dunk setup. The one chirp that I have is for all the Bears. I hear this from Bears media members in particular, who want an indoor stadium and complain about watching games in the cold. And for the San Francisco game week 1, it was like, this is why we need an indoor stadium, because it was rainy and sloppy at Soldier Field. And that's Bears football. You can't put a roof on the Bears stadium, I don't think, and still retain the iconic Bears Monsters of the Midway, black and blue division type persona. So I think that there's something as a fan too, going to games at Lambeau Field throughout my life, that you wear it as a badge of honor going to a cold weather game when it's a 0 degree wind chill. I think that there's something about that. I think I think Chicago needs to keep that element, because then you've got 3 teams in the division that play indoors, and it's the most smash mouth division historically in the NFL. So I hope that the Bears move to Arlington, and I hope that I hope they build an outdoor stadium. That's so I'm kind of on either side of the argument there.
Chris wants his cake and he wants to eat it.
Pretty much, yeah.
We've already seen that this morning, so we're kind of used to that with him. But I would go with, I think it's a celebration, and the reason for that being is, these events are for 2 groups of people. They're for the fans and they're for the players. And if the players, like Kaylee's husband, are talking about the fact that it's a horrible place to play and the field is horrible, and the fans are complaining about the traffic and they're complaining about the conditions, to me it sounds like it's a bit of a no-brainer. I mean, Patriot Place is incredible. There's shopping, there's bars. You go there all day. You tailgate, you go to the game, you go to dinner, you buy your your merchandise. You can literally do everything. And so I think, making it a better experience for the fans, if that's truly what they want, then, I mean, to me, it seems like it would be a great thing. And who knows, maybe that leads to a second NFL team, in Illinois. I mean, the other 3 biggest markets in the U.S. have multiple NFL teams in their state. New York has 2 in the city of New York. You've got L.A. with multiple now. I mean, so there's no reason to me there couldn't even potentially be another team if the league's looking to expand at some point, if they do move down to Arlington. So I think it's a Selly.
I would love to see how Chicago divides of 100 years of Bears fans locally. If a new team comes in the market, who jumps ship? I don't know.
They're pretty
That would be
loyal.
interesting. They're pretty loyal.
They're very loyal.
It's a bold move to bring a new team into Chicago, knowing everything that the Bears have. But it'd be fun. Well, that'll do it for Selly and Chirps. Great job, everyone. Homework, A+ on the homework. No C's on the homework for this week. But we'll
C's
move right
degrees,
into it.
Carter, don't forget that. It's a mantra that I lived by in school.
You and me both, buddy. You and me both. We'll move right into it. Enough of us just going around the horn. Jack Johnson, a great conversation. Chris, I don't know if you want to tee this up at all, but an in-depth sit-down with one of the newest Blackhawks, a guy who's been around, done it all, won a cup last year, really reached the mountaintop there, but an all-around a great guy, right?
Great guy. Really enjoyed getting to know him with our extended sit-down conversation that we had. Really excited for the fans to get to know Jack as well. Again, a Silver Stick 1,000 game NHL player, a Stanley Cup champion, a veteran voice that fits in with the Patrick Kanes and Jonathan Taveses of the locker room because of what he's accomplished in his career. And also some really interesting things we learned about Jack off the ice as well, his likes and interests, what he did with the Stanley Cup on his Cup Day in Dublin, Ohio, where he currently lives with his wife and 3 kids. So really, really great stuff, and I think Blackhawks fans are going to enjoy cheering for Jack Johnson this season on the ice.
We'll toss it now to that conversation with Chris and Jack.
Blackhawks Insider podcast continues with Jack Johnson. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. Year 17 for you in the National Hockey League. How's your first road trip going of the season?
It's been great. It's been pretty unusual for it being the 17th season.
It sure has. Started with a bang. Of course, you won your first Stanley Cup in year 16 with the Colorado Avalanche. That's where the Hawks opened their season. And, I mean, even before the game, you were out for the ring ceremony. There was the banner-raising ceremony on the ice, and then a wonderful in-game tribute to you on the Jumbotron inside Ball Arena. Take me through that whirlwind of a week.
Man, it certainly was. And, before that, we even had the ring ceremony on Monday night, which I was just lucky and fortunate that the way the schedule worked out. We were flying in that morning at practice, so I was able to join the Avs team for the ring ceremony. My wife flew in to be a part of it, which was really special. It was really emotional couple days, and I can't thank the Avs and the Blackhawks enough for allowing me to be a part of that. I just feel extremely blessed and fortunate that all worked out. And like I said, it was so whirlwind of emotions, all great emotions. Nothing but fantastic memories of my time there, obviously, and the bond I have with those guys after winning. As I'm sure guys here have said in the past from winning. And then there's a little bit of a closure really with the banner raising and everything like that, and then it's right away you put your helmet on and you got to go play a hockey game in the meantime. So it was definitely a first for me, but it was an unbelievable experience, something I'll never forget.
Are you carrying the ring around on this road trip with you? I mean, did you send it back with your wife?
No, she didn't want that responsibility.
I wouldn't either.
So no, I do have it with me. I actually wore it to the game on banner night because I figured, it's gonna be the only time you wear it to a game, and that's the one to do it. But then the equipment guys were kind enough to take it for me and package it up and make sure it stays safe instead of just leaving it in my hotel room.
Do you have a place in your house set aside for trophies and career milestone memorabilia and things like that?
It's funny. Most of my memorabilia is in a storage room down in the basement. So someday I'll pull it out for my kids when they don't believe me that dad did something when he was younger. But in terms of that ring, I'm sure my wife will figure out a place where to keep that or display it, and that's not going to go in the storage room.
Well, you mentioned the support that you got from the Avs and the Hawks, and there was some uncertainty, right, if you'd even be on the ice before the game in your Blackhawks sweater, of course, before the banner went up?
Yeah, I had no idea what the plan was. I was just assuming that I would go out with the rest of the Blackhawks team and take a look at the banner once I got out there real quick. But after pregame skate, the people organizing it with the Avalanche came over and talked to me and told me what they'd like me to do. And even sitting on the bench when I went out for the start, there was a lady that works for the NHL. She had a headset on and she told me where to sit. And then when the team started skating over for the banner raising, she said, "Hey, go on out there." And I looked at her like, "Are you sure?" Because I was obviously in my full Hawks uniform. And she radioed up real quick and then looked at me again and she was like, "Yeah, go on out." And so I said, "All right." So got out there.
and Jonathan Taves even offered to bring the rest of the Blackhawks out onto the bench, right, to support as a show of support. If you had wanted that's a cool gesture.
Yeah, no, that was awesome of him to even ask. He said to me before the game, "Would you like us to go out there so you're not sitting by yourself on the bench?" And he obviously knows how meaningful that moment is. He's done it a few times, and as much as I wholeheartedly appreciated that, I wanted the rest of the guys to. I'm sure they would have rather sat in the room and gotten ready for the game. I deferred them to do that because I thought that was the best thing for the rest of the guys. And, but I couldn't be more appreciative of the support that, my guys showed here in Chicago for me.
And then you mentioned just how emotional it was in the first period when the game was actually going on, when they had that video tribute for you. It sounds like that surprised you a little bit. Had you ever felt that kind of way on a sheet of ice playing a hockey game before?
No, I mean, even backing up before that, right before they raised the banner, they did a little quick review of the recap of the season on a video, and I mean, I was getting emotional watching that too. Kind of getting, eyes were watering up, and then you go out and you watch the banner go up, and then you skate over, put your helmet on, the puck drops, and you're you're just trying to collect yourself. And then I wasn't even thinking, all of a sudden they started playing the video in the middle of the first period, and it was like, oh, here we go again. I started getting emotional again, and but I mean, again, I can't thank them enough. It's just one of the many long list of things that I have that I'm so appreciative of the Avs organization and grateful, and just feel really blessed. And same thing. I've had the same amount of appreciation for the Blackhawks organization.
How tough was it to play in that game after that?
Oh, it's weird. I mean, it's way different than from my experience of when you got traded or you signed somewhere else. You line up, and it wasn't that long ago. That's the thing. Like we finished playing at the end of June. So it was like June 26th. So it still kind of feels like yesterday, but. It was the first time I've lined up, and you look at the guy across from you that you got to compete against, and you've honestly, you got nothing but love for the guy on the other side, and you've got that bond, for forever. You walk together forever, when you win a championship like that with a team. And so yeah, I was glad to get that one over with. And you do the ceremony, you raise the banner. It's a good way to close that chapter and turn the page. And I was honestly really excited to play last night. It worked out for me personally. I was really happy to have a back-to-back, go play against a team and an opponent that you genuinely don't like.
So the last 12 months, you're a humble guy, but the last 12 months for you, I mean, you signed with the Avs. You scored the Avs' first goal of the season, by the way, last year against the Blackhawks. You go on to play in your 1,000th game on March 1st. You win your first career Stanley Cup, and you complete your degree at the University of Michigan. I mean, have you had time? Have you taken the time to reflect on all that's happened in your life in a short amount of time?
Yeah, well, we had a few weeks once, after my day with the Cup, we had a few weeks where everything kind of settled down, and we could just relax. And I was extremely proud of that year. I mean, my wife was, talking me into, planting the seed of, hey, are you sure you want to try and play again? I don't know how you're going to top last year, but I was able to sit back and look at the whole year, and I'm really proud of it. Again, I feel very fortunate, really blessed that it all worked out, and I'm sitting here again feeling very, very blessed and fortunate to be able to play again.
What's motivating you at this point in your career? What accomplishments are left to achieve?
It's funny. Once you win, you enjoy it so much, and it's even more than you ever thought it would be. It just makes you want to do it again.
Okay.
And then, to be honest with you, I physically still feel really good, and I still love the game. I think that's the biggest thing. I still love going to the rink. I still love playing hockey, and I still feel like I've got the fire in the off season to get back in the gym and enjoy the process. So all those things are still there for me. So there was no reason for me to back down now.
And have you figured out what your role is on this team yet? Obviously still very early in the season, but you're joining a team composition-wise that's pretty interesting. You've got other veterans like yourself, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, guys who have played in over 1,000 games, who have won Stanley Cups. You've also got some young guys in the locker room, too, that maybe haven't even played 100 NHL games. So you bring a lot to the table in terms of your credibility in this league. How do you mesh sort of the gravitas that you have with the existing leadership structure, but then also, feel comfortable finding out who you are on this team?
Yeah. No, well, I mean, that's one of the great things about this team is you've already got the leaders. You got guys like Taser and Kane, and Jonesy's established himself here as a leader, and got Murphy. I've known him for a little bit, being in Columbus, and so like you've got great leaders already in place, and coming in, really I'm just trying to be myself. I mean, you don't have to be anything that you aren't normally in the room or on the ice, because that's not why they asked you to be here. So I try to be a steady presence. Come to work every day, and when the young guys want to ask you a question, which happens pretty rarely.
Pretty rarely, huh?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they're pretty shy to ask flat out questions,
Okay.
and there's plenty of coaches, so I think a lot of times you just need to be a friend and a teammate. And these young kids are a lot more mature, I think, than when I was coming up. So they don't need a whole lot of coaching from us as players, but they watch a lot. They're smart, and I think they pick up a lot of things just by watching you.
All right, I do want to just ask briefly about your day with the Cup. I guess, you did a lot in 24 hours. Yeah. So first of all, I understand that your kids, you made a pact with them that if you ever won the Cup, you would take them out to ice cream and you would eat ice cream out of the Stanley Cup. So, I mean, was that you kind of throwing an idea out there? Was ice cream something that they were adamant about? How did you settle on that as your Cup day activity?
Well, my kids we're a big ice cream family. For dessert. Yeah. We try to keep it to dessert on the weekends, and my oldest kids are they started to figure out what you play for in the NHL, the Stanley Cup and everything like that, and it just came up one weekend having dessert in the summer, and Dad, if you win, can we eat ice cream out of the cup? And I was like, yeah, sure. So it was just really innocent and fun like that, and we promised. And then as we were playing for the Stanley Cup last year and started getting deeper in the playoffs, they made sure they reminded me of the wanting to eat ice cream out of the Stanley Cup. So we just they didn't let me forget about that. So once we got it, we had to keep that promise.
So what's the scoop, no pun intended, on Dell's, where you took? That's actually where you got the ice cream.
Yeah, no, that's just the local ice cream shop in the area that we frequent quite a bit. My wife and I get coffee from there in the morning, and the kids get ice cream. And if we don't have a stash at the house, it's probably a mile drive up from the house, so it's real easy to get to. And we actually know the family that owns it, and so I texted them ahead of time, let them know the cup was gonna be coming, and we're gonna need quite a few scoops to fill it up.
What flavor did you choose?
Oh, we just did my kids like just chocolate and vanilla. It was
Okay.
pretty much a giant ice cream sundae.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've got guys, cup handlers that are chaperoning the cup every step of the way. Now, look, you were actually pretty gentle on the cup compared to some of your former teammates. I mean, you didn't put a dent in it, you didn't drop it or anything like that. So, were the cup guys pretty cool with your rundown for the day?
Oh yeah, they were awesome. We gave them kind of an itinerary because they wanted to know what to expect for their time going in, and I made sure everything we did, I ran it by them. It was just okay, including putting ice cream in the cup. I want to say, trying to get the hot fudge out of the cracks and stuff was a challenge, but we took it in and washed it up as best we could, and they take it for the night and polish it up and get anything that we missed. But they were awesome. I mean, honestly, I love part of the highlight of your cup day is sitting there and listening to the stories they have about the cup, and even pointing out some imperfections on it, and the history behind it and the stories behind it are fascinating.
Your three kids, Jacqueline, Ty, and Tommy.
Yes.
I'm not missing anybody.
No,
okay.
that's it.
You also took your kids to get baptized in church from the Stanley Cup, all three of them. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you had already scheduled their baptism, I mean, in advance, of course, and it just so happened to coincide with your day with the Cup. I mean, that's just that's destiny right there.
Oh, yeah.
You had to do it.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, that was scheduled probably 6 months in advance.
Unreal.
And when we got I got a couple dates for options of my day with the Cup, and that happened to be one of them. And we already had family flying in for the baptism. So we figured, well, let's just do the Cup party that day. Everyone's already scheduled to fly in. And it just, again, it just worked out. And I ended up getting the Cup on around noon on Saturday because it was traveling. And so to keep, give you the full day with the Cup, they let me keep it till noon on Sunday. Wow. So it was, just in time to take the kids to church with it.
God and the Stanley Cup, man, they work in mysterious ways.
Oh yeah. I was a little hesitant. I didn't want to ask the pastor, like, hey, can we baptize him out of the Cup, because I didn't know if that was frowned upon or anything like that. And I ended up asking him, like, hey, is it okay if I bring it in? And he was like, yeah. And then he finally let out he's a huge hockey fan. And then he was like, he offered to baptize the kids out of the Cup, so it got me off the hook from actually having to ask.
Perfect. And you can't say no to a pastor if you're the Stanley Cup chaperones.
So thank you to Pastor Bruce.
And I think you were the fourth guy to use the Cup in a baptism ceremony. Yeah. So the precedent had already been set. Your in-laws, your extended family now, you've got some athletic ties. Tell me a little bit about who you're related to, if you can, and just what it's like around the dinner table at Thanksgiving when you're swapping sports stories.
Yeah. We have quite a few athletes in the family. So yeah, my wife Kelly, her older brother is Brady Quinn, former NFL quarterback and quarterback at Notre Dame. Now doing the Fox Sports Big Noon Kickoff on the panel. Where most people probably see him now, and he's also doing radio. My wife's older sister, Laura, is married to AJ Hawk, longtime linebacker in the NFL, and great Ohio State linebacker. Brady's wife, Alicia Sacramone, now Alicia Quinn, former Olympic gymnast, won Olympic silver medal, one of the greats of all time. And we have so many other relatives in the family that played at least Division I college soccer. I mean, my wife was an All-American at the University of Virginia playing soccer, and so kind of we joke that the prereq to get into the family is you had to play D1 sports.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean all the uncles, they played D1 football at Brown, Kentucky. I mean the list goes on and on.
So Michigan, your alma mater, plays a lot on Big Noon Kickoff for Fox. So, I mean, are you texting Brady and just being like, giving him, the lowdown, like, I want you to pick the Wolverines, like stuff
No, I don't talk to him too much about that. I mean, those two played football at the highest level you possibly can. So I usually don't talk too much football. I'll ask dumb questions because I'm just a casual fan, but. I also don't act like I was in the fight or on the field or anything like that. So I stay clear of that.
Very modest of you, but you've got to talk football with AJ Hawk, right? He went to Ohio State. I mean, come on, what's that relationship dynamic like between the two of you?
Honestly, we have a great relationship. I think you have to ask him. But no, I mean I don't. We don't. The three of us between Notre Dame, Michigan, and Ohio State, I mean, neither school likes the other school.
Right.
But it's, I think that we have a tremendous amount of respect for each other and what we did. I mean, both those guys played football at, you can't play at bigger programs. And, I was fortunate enough to play hockey at Michigan. It's the most winning college hockey program in the country. So you can't, I think that we have nothing but respect for each other and what we did, and at the end of the day, we're brothers, and we all love each other and support each other. And when Notre Dame's not playing Michigan, I'll wear my Notre Dame T-shirt.
Okay.
I haven't gone out and bought an Ohio State shirt yet, but I nothing but love and support for AJ as well.
And I know he's got a Super Bowl ring, but I saw your Stanley Cup ring, I think that one might be a little bigger than his Super Bowl rings. I think maybe a few more diamonds on it. I mean, that was a rock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's just because of time.
Sure.
Just the way time goes, right? Like every year, whoever wins next year is going to have a bigger one than this year. It's just the way it goes. But I mean, it's cool. I mean, I got to see his Super Bowl ring I think twice, and he doesn't bring it out much, obviously, but. It's pretty amazing.
He was with you on your Cup day, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. We took a really cool picture. I can't remember whose idea it was, but we took a picture with kind of all the major awards. Brady had his Johnny Unitas and his Maxwell, and Alicia had her Olympic medal. AJ had his Super Bowl ring, and I think his Lombardi trophy was out of commission because he put it in his boys' rooms, and I think they've probably trashed it already. But yeah, and then we had the cup there, and I had my Olympic medal, so it was a really cool photo of the family and all the awards.
That is amazing. Yeah. And don't let me forget about your brother who played at Penn State, correct?
He's still at Penn State.
Still there, okay.
Yeah, he's still at Penn State. He's a senior right now at Penn State.
Have you gotten to a game at Pagula Arena, by the way?
I have played actually at Pagula.
Oh, you have?
Yeah,
okay.
I played an exhibition game at Pagula Arena with the Penguins. It was between Pittsburgh and Buffalo, and he was at the game. So it was funny. I actually played there before he did.
No way.
Yeah, but I have not been to a game to watch him at Pagula. Just unfortunately, we're both playing hockey at the same time. But I plan on going to. He actually has a game in Columbus when we're on break, and I plan on going to watch him then.
That's awesome. Yeah. At Pagula Arena, he's in a great spot. That's a great program. I mean, they've got a great student section there. That's a great place to watch and play hockey. That's really cool.
I was knocked out about their facilities and the rink there. He's in a phenomenal spot.
So you're a Midwest guy, grew up in Michigan. You live outside Columbus now. What do you think about Chicago? How are you settling into another Midwestern city? Oh,
it's great. I love the Midwest. That's home for me. And Chicago, I mean, it's one of the great cities in North America. It's been nice being really close to home as well. I've had a couple off days where I've even just gone back to Columbus for the off day.
Great.
It's such an easy flight, get in and out, and then even on the way back, if you take off at 8:00 at night, you land at 8:00. So it's been great. I'm still learning my way around, especially during camp. You get home kind of later in the afternoon because you're there for a while and getting ready for the season. So when you get home, you kind of just want to sit on the couch, and next thing you know, it's dinner time. So I haven't done as much exploring as I want to do, but I definitely plan on doing that.
When you said that you're a big ice cream guy, I was racking my brain because I honestly don't think I've found a go-to ice cream spot in Chicago. Have you? So it's getting cold now too. But have you made any kind of headway there?
No. I don't want you to think I'm eating ice cream every night, but I do enjoy ice cream. That's probably my weak spot.
So
I can walk by baked goods all day. I can walk by cookies and cake all the time without touching it.
Is chocolate your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Ooh, you know what? I like a good I actually like milkshakes.
Milkshakes.
Big milkshake guy. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So you're not the guy, like when you go into the grocery store, you're not the guy that's walking out with like the pail of ice cream, with like the handle, like the 1 gallon. Is that...
No.
Okay.
No. I did get a from my mother-in-law for a Christmas gift. It was one of my best Christmas gifts. She got me a milkshake machine too.
Cool.
Make my own milkshakes at home. So.
Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, have you found a coffee shop at least?
No, I usually make my own coffee in the morning.
Really?
I make my own pot of coffee, yeah.
We talking like French press or just like a...
When I'm at home, yes, my wife does French press.
Okay.
Which is top notch.
Okay.
But no, I'm by myself. If it's just me and I'm kind of like bachelor living for the day, it's maybe a Keurig or...
Okay.
If it's an off day, then I'll make a pot. But just regular, grind the beans and make a pot of coffee.
Black, cream sugar.
If it's an off day, I'll go cream sugar. Every other day, I just go black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I think the balance is good. You can enjoy coffee a lot of different ways. I'm a huge coffee fan as well. All right, wrapping up here, and I know you have some interests off the ice also. You're a big theater goer, musical fan. Man, specifically,
you
right?
really did your homework.
How'd
you even find that out?
We're the Blackhawks, and we've got connections, man. We had to dig up some stuff on you. I'm sorry,
man. I actually do enjoy going to the theater. good date night for me is take my wife to, dinner and theater, whenever we can. It's tough with, 3 kids.
Sure.
You gotta find a babysitter to do it, but it's one of the things that, obviously I don't promote it very much, but I do enjoy it. Try to make it to a lot of the classical shows, the ones that have kind of stood the test of time.
Sure.
Go see them on Broadway or somewhere where it's as good as it gets, and I do enjoy it.
I'm right there with you, man. I love musicals as well, and I think Broadway is top notch. And look, Chicago has got a great theater scene too. So if your wife's in town and you're trying to do the dinner and a show thing, you can do that in Chicago. I think Wicked is just opened up for another run again in Chicago. So have you seen that one?
No, but I saw Beauty and the Beast actually. God, this was years ago, probably 5-6 years ago with one of another couple. We did a double date in Chicago to go see Beauty and the Beast. So I have been to theater in Chicago. It was awesome.
So you mentioned some of the classics though, just give me a yes or no here. Phantom of the Opera.
Yes, I've seen that one several times.
Lion King.
Yep.
Les Mis.
No, actually I take that back. I have seen it.
Okay.
I have seen it.
What about Hamilton?
Nope. I haven't seen Hamilton.
You should see Hamilton. Hamilton's pretty epic. It's I know a more recent one, but what am I missing? Rent?
No, actually. Well, so 2 years right before COVID hit, I saw To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway, and I quickly got a ticket when we were in New York because Ed Harris was starring in it, and I just wanted to see him on stage. So that was phenomenal. Mamma Mia.
Okay, classic, classic. It's hard not to, every song kind of gets stuck in your head with that one. Jersey Boys is another good one too. So do you have like musicals on your Spotify playlist?
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
I don't. But the one I've seen the most by far is Phantom.
Okay, really?
Yeah. I think I've seen that in, Los Angeles, Detroit.
No way.
New York, Toronto. Where else? Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one really gets you, huh?
Yeah.
Gets you in your feelings
it's
a little
good
bit.
One,
It's amazing.
I feel like I end up, you're halfway through it, you're pulling for the Phantom every time, and you keep thinking he's going to get it this time.
I love that. What kind of music do you like, just generally speaking?
Man, it kind of depends on the day, depends on the weather.
Okay.
Summer, driving my truck around Columbus, Ohio, it's country music.
Okay.
Man, I like. I just went to a Dermot Kennedy concert about a month and a half ago, so I've been kind of listening to a lot of Dermot Kennedy lately.
So this is what I really want to know. Are you a Jack Johnson fan? Have you heard of Jack Johnson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
How many times have you been asked that question?
Oh, too many.
I'm sorry. I thought that was going to be the most original thing I asked you. Gosh darn it. Is that kind of, you kind of vibe with that sort of music, like the surfer sort of acoustic vibe? Or
yeah. Again, it kind of depends on the day. I mean, I like everything from like Imagine Dragons to country music to.
You probably listen. Just be honest.
Sometimes I'll listen to like AC/DC, or something, whatever. It just depends on what's going on.
Do you hate Jack Johnson, the artist, simply because you've gotten asked so many questions?
Oh no, I can't. I can't say that much. But I used to, I'd give like the old Office Space lines of say, "What's your favorite song?" or something. I'd say, "I guess I just like them all."
Nice. Very, very well played.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this has been a ton of fun. Thanks so much for spending some time on your off day with us on the Blackhawks Insider podcast. We really appreciate it. Again, welcome to Chicago. It's great to have you. I really appreciate how cool you've been with me, just coming into the locker room and stuff. You've always been super nice and friendly and, been willing to talk to me. So it's great to have you and looking forward to the rest of the season. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Me too. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, that was great stuff from Jack Johnson. Phantom of the Opera, really interesting that's his favorite musical, and it's a great one. I got to agree with him on that. It's time for our next segment of the show, and that is Line Changes with my guy Joe Brand from WGN, host of the Blackhawks pregame and postgame show, and also Blackhawks Live, which you can hear on WGN Mondays at 7. Joe, what's up, man? We got the first week of the NHL season under the books, and how did it treat you? Any knee-jerk reactions from week 1 of the season?
Yeah, definitely. And also, Chris, thank you for not asking me my favorite musical. I don't think I'd have an answer prepped up for that. The one thing we didn't get to last week that I did want to bring up was the idea of Detroit making the playoffs. They got a good young team, new first-year head coach, and got to a pretty good ending of their season last year, and that's carried over into the beginning of this year. So last week they were a plus 280 to make the playoffs. That's already moved to plus 200 in just 1 week. Obviously a 2-0-1 start. They had a loss in overtime to the LA Kings on Monday night, but wins against Montreal, the New Jersey Devils, a goal differential of plus 5. So they're off to a pretty good start. That's tied for fourth best in the NHL. So something to look at. I know they're playing the Hawks on Friday. It's Detroit. It's literally Detroit sucks week. But something to keep in mind for the entire year of Detroit making the playoffs. The one I did point out, which hasn't been doing too great actually, is Minnesota to win the Central. Again, I preface that with their first 5 games against tough opponents. There's still only 3 games in. They're 0-3. That has already moved for them to win the Central from plus 400 to plus 500. So their next 10 games that are coming up, still a couple of good opponents, but then their season falters off a little bit. They play Montreal twice, Seattle twice. They do play the Hawks. They're playing San Jose. So if you were high on Minnesota heading into this year, this might be an opportunity to still pounce on it. But I understand if you want to stay away from it as well.
Got to get that goaltending figured out. Gamble, that those off-season maneuverings for Minnesota in terms of its goalie situation, they haven't paid off early, that's for sure. Really interesting development to start the season. What about from an individual standpoint when you look at Blackhawks players? And I got to ask, anything interesting out there involving Jason Dickinson? I mean, what a debut that he had for the Blackhawks. 3 points, 2 assists, and a goal in his first Blackhawks game. I don't even know if there would have been anything that you could bet on for Jason Dickinson going into that game.
Yeah, you might have had to create your own bet for that, but what a turnout, what a performance, what a cool story too. You know, somebody that was struggling offensively last year in Vancouver and then just explodes in Game 1 with the Hawks with shorthanded, nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, with the game not until Friday, we don't have the exact lines or any payouts just yet. But I wouldn't go against maybe looking at a Jason Dickinson point. It should be rocking and rolling at the United Center. Finally, after the Blackhawks had to go through so many ceremonies, home openers, celebrations, whatever on the road, now they finally get to do it for themselves at the United Center. Should be another fun time for opening night. If you are looking at some specific players to score, here's what we did last week. There was a payout for Tyler Johnson in the Vegas game for plus 410. What does he do? He goes off the crossbar. He has 2 shots on goal. He was so close to hitting that payout. I just liked the way his line was skating with Jonathan Toews and Taylor Radish. They were putting the most offensive pressure in the Colorado game. Unfortunately, they got shut out by Vegas. But then the following night, the Taylor Radish payout was plus 380. I got to give credit to my producer at WGN, Jimmy Nash. He said that right at the beginning of the game. I really didn't think it was a great bet. Turned out to be an amazing bet and a very exciting breakaway play. So he nailed it. Moral of the story is, if you are going to the game or if you're just intently watching these Blackhawks games and you're betting, I'm not saying to bet if you're going to the game, but if you are betting and you're going to the game, it is fun to throw money on a specific score because you can pay a lot of attention to what's going on offensively. And I would recommend that second line still. If it stays the same with Taylor Radish and Jonathan Toews and Tyler Johnson, all those guys are getting off to a good start. It just overall enhances your viewing experience. So I would go with that. But the other point I want to pull out, Chris, Patrick Kane, in 15 home openers of his entire career, he has scored 20 points in each home opener. There's only been 2 games where he has not scored a point. 8 goals, 12 assists through 15 home openers. 3 openers of that past against the Detroit Red Wings, at least 1 point in each of those games, 1 goal, 3 assists. So it might finally be time for Showtime to perform at the United Center on Friday.
Well, that's great stuff, Joe, especially with Patrick Kane on opening night and no goals through his first 3 games. You know, you can't keep him off the scoreboard forever. So that's I really like that opportunity for fans and bettors alike to get in on Patrick Kane. So great stuff, Joe, as always. Looking forward to opening night, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, bud. See you then.
All right, he's Joe Brand of Line Changes. Carter, back to you.
That will do it for this week's episode. A big thank you to Jack Johnson for joining us today, as well as WGN Radio's Joe Brand for his segments. Also, a special thank you to Brad Dollar and Southside Jake for mixing our music that you heard throughout the show today, a custom track they mixed just for our use this season. So a big thank you to them. For Chris Foster's, Kaylee Chelios, and Colby Cohen, I'm Carter Baum. We'll see you next time on Blackhawks Insider, presented by Chevy Drive Chicago. Drive what Kane and Taves drive.